They told her she didn't belong. Not because of her income, not because of her character, but because of the color of her skin. A single decision by a homeowners association shattered her dream of owning a home. But what they didn't know was that their act of exclusion would ignite something far greater than a rejection letter. What she did next not only stunned her neighbors, it rewrote the rules of power, ownership, and justice. The question is, how far would you go when the world says no? For years, Maya dreamed of owning a place she could truly call home. She wasn't chasing luxury, just stability, safety, and the pride of planting roots in a community she had worked so hard to reach. After years of long hours at her job, saving every dollar, and carefully planning, the moment finally came. She found the perfect neighborhood. Quiet streets, children playing on the sidewalks, families tending to gardens. To her, it felt like more than a house. It felt like belonging. Maya pictured family gatherings in the backyard, neighbors becoming friends, and finally exhaling after a lifetime of uphill battles. She wasn't just buying a home. She was buying peace of mind, security, and the reward for years of perseverance. But beneath the polished lawns and welcoming smiles of that neighborhood, there was something unspoken, an invisible line she wasn't supposed to cross. On the surface, everything looked perfect. Yet, hidden in the paperwork and behind closed-door meetings, a quiet resistance was waiting. She believed she was stepping into her dream. Instead, she was walking straight into a wall built not of bricks or fences, but of prejudice. One that would test her resolve in ways she never imagined. When Maya submitted her application, she felt a rush of excitement. She had done everything right: perfect credit score, steady income, glowing references. On paper, there was no reason to deny her. Yet the rejection came swiftly, delivered with a sterile letter that felt colder than the words it carried. "We regret to inform you." At first, she thought it was a mistake. She called the office, expecting clarification, but was met with vague excuses. The board had concerns, the timing wasn't right, they were protecting the integrity of the neighborhood. Each phrase was polished, professional, and empty. None of it explained why a qualified buyer like Maya had been turned away. The more she asked, the more doors closed. Calls went unanswered, emails ignored. And then, through whispers from a sympathetic realtor, the truth emerged. The HOA didn't want her there. Not because of her finances, not because of her record, but because she was black. It hit her like a punch to the chest. In 20XX, after all her hard work, she was being told, without them ever saying the words, that her skin color made her unworthy of the very dream she had fought for. Anger burned beneath her grief. She remembered her grandmother's stories of segregation, of doors slammed shut, of no coloreds allowed signs hanging above businesses. Maya had believed those days were long gone. Yet here it was again, dressed up in modern language, hidden in board decisions, wrapped in paperwork designed to look neutral. But she wasn't going to back down. Maya dug deeper, gathering evidence, documenting every rejection, every excuse. She spoke with others who had tried to buy into the same neighborhood. Their stories echoed hers. Families who had mysteriously been turned away, despite meeting every requirement. A pattern was forming, one that couldn't be explained away. The injustice grew heavier with each discovery. She could have walked away, found another home, started fresh elsewhere. But deep down, she knew this was bigger than her. If she walked away quietly, the HOA would continue, unchallenged, shutting the door on anyone who didn't fit. So she made a choice. Instead of giving up, Maya began to think bigger, much bigger. She reached out to allies, people in her network who believed in her fight. What started as a single rejection was slowly transforming into a mission. A plan was forming, bold and audacious, one that would require every ounce of courage and determination she had. The HOA had tried to silence her with a letter, but what they didn't know was that this rejection was the spark. And sparks, when fed with enough fuel, can become wildfires. And Maya? She was just getting started. Maya stood in the middle of the neighborhood she was once told she could never enter. But this time, she wasn't just a rejected buyer. She was the new owner of multiple homes on that very block. The plan she had crafted in silence had worked. Through determination, strategy, and allies who believed in her, she had done the unthinkable. She hadn't just bought a house. She had bought the neighborhood. But victory didn't come without a storm. The HOA board was furious. Emergency meetings were called. Desperate attempts made to block her ownership. They threw everything at her. Legal threats, intimidation tactics, letters dripping with condescension. Yet the more they fought, the stronger she stood. For every door they tried to slam, she opened 2 more. Still, there was one night that tested her spirit more than any other. As she walked through the quiet streets she now partially owned, she felt eyes on her. Curtains shifted. Whispers carried through the air. Neighbors who had once smiled at open houses now looked at her with open hostility. For a moment, she questioned if she had gone too far, if she was safe in the very place she had fought so hard to claim. But then, she remembered the rejection letter, the dismissive tone, the reminder that, to them, her skin was enough reason to deny her humanity. And in that moment, fear transformed into fire. The HOA wanted her gone. The neighborhood wanted her silent. But Maya wasn't leaving, and she wasn't backing down. Because this wasn't just about a home anymore. It was about proving that no amount of prejudice, no matter how carefully disguised, could ever dictate where she did or didn't belong. In the end, Maya's victory wasn't measured in property deeds or boardroom battles. It was measured in something far deeper, the undeniable proof that resilience could outlast prejudice. She had turned rejection into ownership, exclusion into empowerment. What began as a single door slammed shut became a story that forced an entire community to look at itself in the mirror. The HOA could write letters, hold meetings, and resist change, but they could not erase the truth. Maya belonged. And with every home she purchased, every barrier she broke, she carved out a space not just for herself, but for those who would come after her. Her triumph became a symbol of what's possible when injustice is met with determination instead of silence. Yet it also served as a painful reminder that in today's world, racism doesn't always announce itself with slurs or signs. Sometimes it hides in policies, in paperwork, in carefully chosen words that mask exclusion. Maya's story may sound extraordinary, but it's not unique. Across neighborhoods, workplaces, and schools, people of color continue to face invisible walls that tell them they don't belong. The fight is far from over. So the question lingers, how many more Mayas will it take before society stops building walls of prejudice and starts opening doors of equality? Because until that day comes, stories like hers won't just be tales of triumph. They'll be warnings. Warnings that remind us. Silence protects the oppressor, but resilience, the kind that refuses to back down, has the power to change everything.